everybody, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. We have a lot to talk about tonight. I know some of you are out there who want to talk about the whole union thing, which we said we were going to discuss tonight, and we are going to discuss it briefly tonight. But there is just so much going on out there in the world today that we have so much to cover. But as always, again, I'm Joe Vollano. I am your host, your guiding light through the nonsense and craziness that's going on out there in the world. And my job here is to sit behind this microphone and kind of make things just a little bit more easier to understand. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about. Fuel prices going through the roof. A lot of the posts that we talked about that I posted this week have really taken a life of its own on some of them. I get a kick out of it. I like to post things in the morning in case you haven't realized. And then I just turn around and I just leave it for the day and I let people just comment on it. And I go back and look at it in the evening. But some great comments on it we're going to go through. I see we have our union guys on deck, ready to go. Roger's excited. I'm excited, Roger, for you. And if you guys want to be part of the show, we always suggest you do so. And you could call in 203-679-9610. Or you could email us at straighttalkjv@gmail.com. Or you could do what most of these guys do. Jump on our Facebook page. And you can just join in on the conversation as we go along. Like I said, we have our union guys. I see Roger's ready to go. Paul's ready to go. Paul, unions wouldn't allow this nonsense. Oh, what nonsense are we talking about? You got to clarify it there so I know what you're talking about. And oil tycoons getting rich. Okay, well, somebody's got to make some money, right? I don't have no shame in my game. I sit there and my job is to make money, more money. And I think we do a good job at that. But we got a lot of stuff going on, so let's jump right on into it. Now, I know you guys want to talk about unions. I'm going to put that on the back burner for a second. All right, so we're going to talk about the unions towards the end of the show. But we have so many other things that are taking precedence over that. And one would be you don't need to wear a mask, apparently, going forward now if you've been fully vaccinated. Now, I don't know how they're going to be able to monitor this or to be able to enforce it, but just like anything else the government does, they just pass it. They don't have any expectation of enforcing it. But I am quite surprised at this move, to be completely honest. I am surprised because it is a money-making machine, COVID. And your health departments and your local city health departments, they love the whole mask thing because they can walk into your restaurant, into your bar, into your business and say, "Oh, one of your customers isn't wearing a face mask. They're going to fine you $100." How crazy is that? You can't police what your customers are doing. Listen, some of us just don't believe in masks. I don't wear one most of the time when I go into a business, so it is what it is. But then to fine the business owner $100, listen, I'll pay that $100 for them all day long, and I did. So because I'm not going to let someone get a fine on my account. But here is, I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. Here is what you can and cannot do being vaccinated. Joe, have you been vaccinated? I identify as a vaccinated person. I identify as one, so therefore I am vaccinated. So that's how I look at it. So here is the list. Look at it. Now make sure you study this because they're going to be on you. They're going to be on you. Singing it in an indoor chorus. Eat in an indoor restaurant or bar. You could already do that without a mask. I don't get that. You could already do that. Anticipating an indoor high-intensity exercise class. Craziness. I mean, you could do all this stuff. Now go to an indoor movie theater. I don't know about you. I haven't seen too many outdoor ones. So, But what can you do no matter what? Attend a small gathering, a fully vaccinated, unvaccinated. I don't get it. If you have the vaccine, you're 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 immune from it. So what do you care? Just let people go live their lives. This is all nonsense. Like I say, I identify as a vaccinated person. I put my time in. I'm good. If I haven't gotten it yet, I ain't getting it. And I just go about living my life. I don't sit there and deal with the nonsense of, oh, you got to stay 6 feet apart. No, you know what? If I get it, I get it. And then once you get it, you're immune to it, and you have your antibodies, you're good to go. Again, that's exactly it, Jamie. Fear is what COVID is all about. They want people to live in fear. But they also have come to the realization that you can't scare people into this all the time. And people are getting to the point where they're like, you know what? We've had enough of it. This is BS. We're done. Which is why I posted a couple of those memes this week that, again, people, I guess, are finding pretty funny. I find them funny. I find them hilarious. But that's why I posted the memes that I do, because it just really sheds a light onto the nonsense and the lunacy that is going on in this world, and the fact that people are following this nonsense is just unbelievable to me. There's this many gullible people. This kind of segues right into our next part of the program, and that's with all the so-called shortages going on in the country. Now, everybody knows that a pipeline was hacked, and we've watched fuel prices go crazy. Now, two reasons why that happens. And no, Roger, us oil guys and us fuel guys, we do not get rich off of it. We don't like seeing high gas prices and high oil prices. That actually hurts us. One, we have to float that much more capital because it's so much more expensive at the rack. One, our credit card fees go through the roof because we get charged per percent of how much each one is. And customers hold back on buying fuel when it's high. So it hurts us. We don't want to see high oil and gas prices. Listen, our profit is what it is no matter what. No matter what the price is. So I'd rather see it nice and low. Everybody's happy. I'm extremely happy. Even though I must say, I was expecting to see a slow back, and today was just absolute brutal out there today. I kind of refer to it as when I walk on, it's like a drug dealer. I drove into a couple of marinas, and it was like crackheads. They were just all over us. We need fuel. We need fuel. So, no fee for accepting Dogecoin. Hey, don't get me started on cryptocurrency. Don't get me started. We had this whole conversation on cryptocurrency last week. My brother got me all into it. I was excited. I was like, reading up on it. I'm like, I'm going to buy Dogecoin. Oh my God, I'm losing my shirt. I'm losing my shirt here. It's painful just to watch it. I was all excited with Elon Musk going on Saturday Night Live, and it did nothing for me. I'm losing money. So let's not talk about cryptocurrency, please. Buy. I'm going to buy you a coffin. I'm going to put you in it. Buy more. Killing me. Absolutely killing me. Roger, just so you know, your oil prices just went up to cover for Paul's mistakes. So, but again, one, there is no shortage. So people, please, I can't beg you enough. Do not go freaking out and buying a ton of gas. Don't do it. I'm seeing all these pictures. I'm getting all these comments from all over the country, from Florida up the East Coast, of people going crazy, filling up friggin' 25-gallon jugs. Stop. Two things are going to happen. One, The pipeline's gonna be fixed. Which, in case you didn't understand, we negotiate with, well, we don't, but corporations negotiate with terrorists because they paid these ransomware hackers $5 million. Go figure that out. And just to take one step farther than that, the government, our federal government, said that they should pay it. Whatever happened to we don't negotiate with terrorists? Whatever happened to that? One, it just emboldens them to do it again. And two, it's going to cost the people at the pump. Who do you think is going to pay that $5 million? You think the corporation is going to pay for it? No, they're going to jack up prices. Someone's got to cover it. Don't sit there and say, oh, well, insurance is covering it. That means their insurance costs go up. That means our thing goes up. Cryptocurrency is not the same as the real dollar. We talked about that last week. It's not backed by the government or anything else. So please, don't go buying a ton of gas for no reason. It's just absurd. If it gets to a point where supply is really disrupted, the federal government has a strategic reserve for that purpose. So please, 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 do not go out getting crazy buying gas. So the number is back up there, 203-679-9610. By all means, give us a call in. We're always looking for good conversation. But again, if you don't want to call us in, you can always email us too. I'm always paying attention to our emails at straighttalkjv@gmail.com. I always enjoy the emails, and I try to read some of them back. Where's the cute co-host? What? I am not enough? Come on, there's only room enough in here for one good-looking guy, and right here. And this is a good-looking guy too here. He's cute, isn't he? Okay. So again, now we got that done. Please stop going and hoarding gasoline. It's stupid. Doesn't make any sense. There is no shortage, especially here in Connecticut. Don't do it. Now, you're also making prices go up when you do that. Because remember, supply and demand. We're seeing all these long gas station lines when there is no shortage. So you're just making a shortage, a short-term shortage. So these gas companies are going to jack up their price. That's just common sense. If you have a high demand with a short supply, prices are going up. And people are standing in line unnecessarily to sit there and pick up gas that there is no shortage on, therefore driving the prices up artificially, bringing them up. So just keep that in mind. That's what you're doing. Whether you know it or not, that's what you're doing. But I think the big story of the week is the fact that inflation has skyrocketed. We're going to talk about that, Jamie. Inflation has skyrocketed. It's gone crazy now. We're at 4.2%. 4.2% we're at for inflation. That is extremely high, and we are. And here's the issue that I have with it: is that can we live with a 4.2% inflation rate right now? Yes, we can. If you look at it from just a statistical numbers point of view, yes, we can. Now, the problem that we're going to have is that we have already spent almost $6 trillion now on this coronavirus. And right now, you have Congress working on two different things. One, the infrastructure bill, which is $2 million. And then we also going to have another round of stimulus, which they want, which is going to be another $2 trillion. So now you're talking already about $4 trillion added on top of it. Yes, Paul, I can't see YouTube too. So you got another $4 trillion coming up on top. Now, everyone talks about, oh, well, GDP is at 6%. We can't do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. No. GDP is that high because you've put that much money into it. How you doing, Jeffrey? Nice to see you over there on our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining in. But I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that we're gonna. I guess it's hard to explain sometimes, but we just got to be careful on how much money we're going to throw into the system, because one, at some point the system's going to collapse. We saw it in 2008 when first of all we bailed out companies that should never have been bailed out. To bail out the banks was just ridiculous, and anyone who believes that it was the right thing to do is crazy. But we can only throw so much money into a system before it collapses, and we're starting to see that. And with the 4.2%, that is what I like to refer to as the shot across the bow. That is the shot across the bow. That is supposed to be your wake-up warning. That is supposed to be your wake-up warning to say, hey, guys, you know what? You got to step back. But the Senate and the House are not ready to stop. They're looking to spend. And they want more and more control. Now, again, everyone's talking about gas prices, and rightfully so. I mean, if you look at gasoline's up 49.6% over the last 12 months. Let me repeat that again. Gasoline over the last 12 months is up 49.6%. Crazy. There is no way we can sit there and say that that's one. We were energy independent just 18 months ago. Just 18 months ago. And within 4 months, from January to now, that's where the biggest spike has been. Now, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and go, oh, but crude oil was the same price it was last year. But the thing they're not really going into the numbers on is you can't just look at what the price of crude oil is. That is a good guide to where gas prices are going to be. There's so many other things that play into it than just the crude oil price. One is policies that have been enacted. You know, you have policies which, and this is a prime example. Jamie, you kind of touched on it before. So, for all the Democrats out there who have been blowing up my Facebook page about how, oh, well, it's not only under Democrats that prices are high. It's not a coincidence that every time we have a Democratic president, gas prices go through the roof. Now, they might sit there and say, and some of you Democrats might go, okay, well, that's just, they have no control over the gas price, which in some ways, yes. They have no physically way of controlling prices, but they do control it through their policies. And Michigan is a prime example of that. So while everyone's talking about higher prices and we're talking about pipelines, we're talking about, you know, who's having shortage, what's the government can do. The governor of Michigan is threatening to profit seize a pipeline that has been operational since 1953 because they don't want them using it anymore. Now, this pipeline, which is called line number 5, and if you want to go on, you can look at this up. The governor of Michigan is threatening to take all their profits if they keep the pipeline going. Now, again, this pipeline was done in 1953 and has run successfully without major incidents since then. Since 1953. But now all of a sudden, the Michigan governor is saying, no, May 12th, you have to close it down. And good thing for the company. The company said, screw you. No, we're not closing it down. This pipeline goes to Canada, and it goes to, I believe it was Akron, Ohio, if I remember correctly. It goes to Akron, Ohio, to their refinery. Now, if you were to close this line down, the middle of the country, you're screwed when it comes to fuel. This is where they make fuel. And the Democratic governor, just because she wants to, because she doesn't believe in fossil fuels, is saying, no, we need to close it down because it's a safety risk. What safety risk is there? It's been there since 1953. So when any Democrat turns around and says, oh, we're all for energy, no, you're not. If you vote for people like this, you're not. You're not for it. You're just looking to turn around and raise prices because you want to push your green agenda. That's all this is all about. This is all this is about, is trying to push their agenda. And that's for clean energy. Which, again, they'll sit there and criticize coal, which is clean coal. But again, all this energy they need to create all this green energy comes from fossil fuels. So it just doesn't make any sense. We're building a wall on the wrong border. Oh, Roger. Roger, once the green room's done, you are coming in here and we are going to have a discussion. You guys want to hear a good discussion. But so for every Democrat out there that is continuing to turn around and say, we should be closing these things down, and then sit there and tell me on the other side of your mouth that you're all for energy, is a bull-faced lie. Yes, Jeff, Roger does need to sit in. That'd be great. Now, the other big story of the week is the Consumer Product Index. Now, most people don't know what this is. So let me explain real quick. I brought up I had to go find this because I wanted to make sure people understood what it was. So the Consumer Price Index formula. This is what it is. So this has the basic, so your value of your market basket in a basic year. So that's what it's been over the average, what it's been for the last year, and then what it is now. And times that by 100, it gives you your Consumer Price Index formula. So that's just a formula that they use to figure out what the Consumer Price Index is. Okay, so it's what you pay to buy things. Okay, so that's what the Consumer Price Index is. Is how much from one time to another, usually a 12-month period. So what it was to what it is now and how much it's up. And here are the sides that are up. These are the major parts of it. And again, I just want to show you guys these so you understand where I'm coming from when we start talking about this stuff. So shelter. Shelter is all your homes. Your homes, any kind of supplies you do for homes, your lumber stuff. Food, you see corn, wheat, soybeans, all up. In fact, corn is doubled from what it was 12 months ago. Believe it or not, the only part of the economy that is actually going down, which is shrinking, was medical, which is odd to me, but then not, because people aren't buying medical stuff. The government's been buying it. So, and then energy is 7.6% of the Consumer Price Index. Transport, that's your airlines, stuff like that. Your other foods, which is your processed foods, not your whole grains and stuff like that. And then your other services is just miscellaneous stuff throughout the economy. So this is just a quick breakdown of how much each part of the sector is to the overall economy. Yeah, that's a good question, Jeff. So in case you can't see Jeff's question because he's on our YouTube page, question on lumber prices. Sources say it's going to China in large quantities. Well, there's two things that China is doing. One, they are building. So a lot of lumber is going to China. The other thing that's going to China, believe it or not, is corn and grains. And it's for two reasons. One, back if I don't know if you guys remember, back in 2018, they had the swine flu pretty bad in China. And so a lot of their pigs and their pork were destroyed. And they just killed them all off. Now they're replenishing those supplies, and with that happening, they are in needs of a lot more corn and grains for feed, because that is the two main ingredients in feed. So you are seeing a lot of it go to China, which is why you're seeing, like I said, corn has doubled over the last 12 months. That is one of the major reasons why. You also need to remember that the government, believe it or not, here in the great old United States of America, they actually pay farmers to not grow in certain areas. So believe it, I know that sounds a little hard to believe, but the government does pay farmers to not grow on certain parts of the field. And that's usually to control pricing. I mean, I would love to see ethanol get out of our gasoline. But again, that's the government stepping in and saying, no, well, it's a little payoff to our corn growers. Denver to be one of them. I don't know what that statement means. Denver to be one of them. But yes, so China is a huge part of that. Why a lot of our prices have gone up. But again, you also must remember that, here in America, a lot of home improvements go up in the start of the spring. So between that and then new home building, the population is growing. So lumber is a huge part. I know I'm about to do some construction here, so I got to make a green room for Roger, for crying out loud. So, that all that comes into under the shelter price of 32.8%. But again, when you have a shortage, and again, shortages come from different reasons. One, a lot of it is transportation. Most of you who don't follow transportation, and I do because I fuel a lot of trucking companies. So, these guys have been busy. And a lot of them, it's hard to find truck drivers right now to bring supplies to different areas. And North Carolina is a prime example of that. North Carolina, where you're seeing the gas shortages, there isn't technically a gas shortage. It's just so many people are overwhelming the pumps. They're using up the gas. They can't replenish them fast enough. That's a real problem going on down in North Carolina. That's why I said at the beginning of the program, please stop. Stop. There is no shortage. If there was a shortage, we have reserves within the federal government that they can release to make up for what we lost. So we need to stop that. So, again, sometimes panic buying, we are sometimes our own worst enemy. And for fueling, that is a prime example of that. Now, I know Amy mentioned that on my Facebook page, that if you go down to New Haven, you see a bunch of lumber sitting on the docks. Yes, you do. But again, that's two things. One, that's already spoken for, and two, you have to have transportation to get it from there to the stores. It's not just sitting there because they want it to sit there. So there's a lot that goes into why we have the inflation that we have. Now, this was a very interesting stat for me here. Let me pull it up that I wanted to talk about. There we go. And this is where we kind of get into the whole union thing. So I know you guys that have been sitting out there wanted to get into this union thing. I know Jeff, Roger, Paul, I know you guys are fired up when I talk about how great your union is. But this is where we were. This is where we're at now and where we were. So this goes all the way back from 2000, what the average normal income was, which was about 40,000. Now we're sitting at somewhere around the 65,000 mark. It was 66 just at the beginning of 2020, and now it has sharply dropped about 3,000 per family. My union sucks. Well, I'll agree with you there, Roger. I'll agree with you there. And where they expected to be at 66,000. But notice the steady climb. And it was a steep climb. Now, I know a lot of people sit there and go, oh, well, here we go on this little Trump thing. Listen, when you cut regulations, it works. It works. This is a prime example of it. Income goes up. When people have, when things are low, they could afford to give people more money. Now they can't. As you notice, if you look in that red there, that means we're in a recession now. We are currently in a recession. There is no doubt about it. And the problem that most of my liberal friends believe is that you can buy your way out of a recession. You cannot spend, and think you're going to get yourself out of a recession. And then most liberals are going to come back to me and say, well, what about World War II? What about World War II, where we spent all this money on war and it got us out of the Great Depression? Now, if you want to compare World War II to today, you're talking apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. One, about 15% of our population was overseas. They weren't here. So you had a lot more jobs to go around. One, the cost of raising a family was going down. So, there's so many different things between the two, you really can't compare them. But we are in for a decline. So make sure you're saving. Make sure you're trying to save money as much as you can. And Michael, do not go get more gas. So make sure if you're not saving now, you are. And again, I think Paul said buy. Yeah, this is the perfect. If you have the money, this is the time to jump into the stock market. This would be the perfect time. If you could get things nice and low and nice and cheap, do not do cryptocurrency. Do not. In fact, let me see how mad I am at Paul right now. Yeah, so like my Dogecoin's down to 48 cents. I'm down almost 20 cents a share. So, but you could if we weren't 50 million trillion in debt. Now, that's true. And again, we talked about deficits versus debt a couple of shows ago, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And you're right. Well, we're not 50 trillion in debt, but I think by time we're done by the end of this decade, we'll be pretty damn close. So, but when it comes down to debt, and you talk about the deficit. Well, technically the deficit. You also have to remember we could absorb a lot of that because we are the world's currency. So yeah, we could absorb a lot of debt. The problem comes is, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, is that when there is that monetary reset, and if we lose that to China, we are royally screwed. We are royally screwed. Now, we haven't even gotten to the state and local stuff there, Roger. That's going to have to be another show. That could take us all day. First of all, in the state of Connecticut, our General Assembly is just a joke. They don't even want to do their job. They're just, again, they signed another legislation to give the governor pretty much reign over anything he wants. We basically have a king here in Connecticut. Our state legislature, your representatives that you voted to go up there and represent you, they are not doing their jobs no more. They have decided that that's too hard. They don't want to make those decisions, and they're just going to sign all their powers over to the governor. That's what they have decided to do up in Hartford. But again, that's for a whole nother show. We could be here forever on that. But again, they don't care because you keep voting. Well, you may not, but people keep voting these people in. So if they know there's no consequences to anything they're doing, what do you think? What's their incentive to care? Their incentive is just to get to the next election and win. And we're going to get into next week. I mean, probably on Sunday. We're going to get into the whole voting system voting bill that they just passed, where you don't need an ID to even pick up an absentee ballot. There will be no signature verification. It is crazy. I'll give you, well, Jeff, okay, for people who can't see Jeff's comments, he just did an FYI for me. No politician isn't doing true job. Local and feds, no matter what party, Joe. And I'll give it to you. In some instances, yes. But there are some Republicans, I think, out there that are doing a terrific job at trying to stop the nonsense. Whether you're talking about on a federal level with your Cruz or your Jim Jordan, who is my personal favorite. You do have some legislators out there that are trying to do their job, trying to represent their constituents in the best way possible, and holding up to, the standards that Republicans are trying to hold themselves to. And then you do have your very, very wishy-washy Republicans who are just as bad as Democrats. And like I say this on a continuing basis, Jeff, in both, really, and mostly in Washington, I don't trust any of them. They're all crooks in my eyes. They're all crooks in my eyes, and other than a very few in Washington. Even in the city, even if you look at your state and cities, you got to be careful when you elect people in. You have to hold them accountable. You must hold them accountable. I did that just 2 weeks ago. I held Republicans accountable. They do come complacent. But why do they come complacent, Jeff? So Jeff's saying they become, but again, it's because maybe you're one of them, Jeff. Do you keep voting the same people in just because of a party? Do you keep voting these people in because that's just normally what you do? If they're complacent, then you need to get rid of them. You need to be vocal about it. And I say that all the time when I'm on this show. I don't know how many times you've listened, Jeff, but listen, it's our job to hold people accountable. I hold everybody accountable. I don't care what party you are. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I blasted everybody. I will sit behind this microphone and say it the way it is. It's called straight talk for a reason. I don't care what party you're at. If you mess up or you do something that's not good on behalf of the people, you are going to hear about it. We need more people like me that are going to do that on both sides of the aisle. I don't care what party you're from. I care about the people of the city, the state, and this country. When it comes to this, screw parties. America is much more than just two parties. It is 300 something million individuals that are Americans. That's what it's about, Americans. That's why I don't like these identity politics. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Why try putting people in boxes? Trying to put labels. It's just craziness to me. But people allow them to do it. But people allow them to do it. because there are a lot of vulnerable people. You're seeing them right now. We saw them last year with the toilet paper hoarding. You're seeing the people now that are freaking out about gasoline. What's next? You know, which is why I put that other meme up there last night. You know, people are going back to normal. Oh, cut the gasoline. Because it works. Fear works. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of weak-minded people in this country. Let me rephrase that again. There's a lot of weak-minded people in this state. And I'll go one step farther. There are a lot of weak-minded people in this city and town that you live in. Do you know what the great thing is, though? For us strong-minded people, we have the ability to change those people's minds. Because most likely, those people that I'm talking about are not educated or informed on what is actually going on. But that's where each and every one of you come in. That's where I come in. Our job is to inform and to educate within our circle of influence. You hear me talk about the circle of influence every week because it's so extremely important. You don't realize how much power you have. And if you could use that power and that information in your circle of influence, we could change this in a matter of years. And I'm predicting right now, Meriden goes Republican this year. Not because it's just Republicans. It's not because it's just we're just Republicans. Because we're the only ones putting ideas out there to actually move the city forward. And we're the ones that aren't trying to separate people based on class and race. And we're definitely not demonizing our friggin' police department. Jeffrey, you're more than welcome to call in. I'll actually throw up the number again. I always like having conversations. You know, we just did a whole show just a week and a half ago on our police department, the great police department of Meriden, who have been getting crapped on left and right. And again, we hold everybody accountable here. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you go to try to throw our police officer under the bus, you will be called out on it every single time. And you don't know what kind of crap I took. Oh, it came fierce and hard. I don't care. I care more about you guys than I do about any party. I mean, that's just a fact. We need more people like that. Like I said, I am a proud conservative. Proud. And I stand on those principles day in and day out. And I'm okay with that because you know what? Because I could stand up for what I believe in. I could actually back up what I believe in. So people could try to take attacks on me all day long. They lose every time. Oh, Jeff, they're calling you out, Jeff. They're saying you won't run. Are you running? Are you going to run again? I have no intentions of running. So, I think I could do more good sitting here behind this microphone than I can trying to deal with those idiots up in the city hall or in the state. And plus, on time, my time wise, I'm just so busy with work. Or as Roger would say, being an oil tycoon. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to state my opinion. And again, if people think that, most importantly, my main objective right now is to stop this attack on our police department. To be completely honest, a lot of my focus is going to that. Because, in the city of Meriden, the crazies have taken over. And we had the biggest crazy in Sonia Jelks, who is now the majority leader. She's the craziest one out of all of them. And now she holds the reins of the city. And in order for her to be stopped, it's going to take people with balls and who aren't afraid to be called the names to go do it. So I think that's where I step in. Because anyone who knows me knows I could care less what anyone calls me or what anyone thinks of me. I could care less. If I think I'm doing what's right, that's what's going to happen. And for me, I think with liberals, and Jeff, you might take offense to it if you're a liberal, but yeah, this throwing trying to push a false narrative that we have race problems in our city and our state that are backed by no fact at all, has really taken me to a new level of being pissed off. So I think most of my time is going to be focused on attacking liberals on their craziness and to stop leaving leave our police alone and stop trying to micromanage them. So, and they are still gung-ho on the oversight committee, but and listen, they're going to get an oversight committee, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. And hopefully by the time that even happens, this election will have come and gone, and we will deal with that. So, but hey, listen, and no offense, Joe. I know I don't really talk to you on your politics. I don't know what you are, but I love liberals just as much as I love conservatives. And if you look at my Facebook page, you'll notice that maybe 30% of my friends that are on my page are liberals. Because at the end of the day, we might disagree on 10% of things, but on the other 90% we agree. And the closer you get to the city politics, the more conservative people get, because it affects you directly. Even though everything affects you directly, but people really take issue with when taxes go up in the city, because again, it's something that immediately affects you and you feel it right away. I'm glad you back the police 100%. Democrats are not liberal. Yes, they are. You show me one Democrat that's not a liberal, and I could give me 5 minutes with them, and I'll make sure, and I'll show you how fast they are a liberal. The problem is there's so many few moderates out there that have just been taken over by crazies. But we have to back our police. We have to. Because I tell you what, and I know we're sitting here talking about, shortages and everything else. Without our police department, who's protecting all these stores? We again, Ferguson, Minneapolis, Oakland, Atlanta, Baltimore, you could name every single one of them. All run by Democrats, by the way. Without our police department, you see what happens. When police officers are told to stand down, there's looting going crazy. And then you have more shortages. And therefore you have more prices going up. So I know it comes around in a circle, but the police department is that's just another reason why you need to support them. Because what would your city turn into? It would turn into a Portland. That's basically what it is. So, Roger, what's the difference? A central government socialist versus a liberal. This is the same damn thing. It's the same thing. They both want the same thing. Their main points are exactly the same. It's control. Progressives liberals, socialists, whatever you want to call it, communists, Marxists, they all want the same thing: control. If they get control, then they own you. That's basically what they want. They need a permanent underclass. That's the whole point. And if you look at any one of those, that's exactly what they are. What, you just want to rename them? I remember when liberals turned around, they turned around and called themselves progressives, and everyone thought it was something different. There was no difference. Just today, they're more vocal about it. You're gonna start throwing definitions up there, really? Freaking Roger. Roger's about to clog up our chat here. But yeah, I mean, listen, every piece of the puzzle matters. The government is a necessary evil. It's just one piece of the puzzle. The police department is another piece of the puzzle. But the biggest piece of the puzzle is you. You are the biggest piece of the puzzle. Because without you, without checks and balances, without us being, holding our representatives accountable, you get what we have here. We talked about it again a couple weeks ago. You had Democrats sitting there standing up at the state capitol talking about how policies are violent against inner city communities. They're the ones that made the policies over the last 30 years. So now do we expect those inner cities to vote a different way? You would think if that's truly how they feel, then yeah, they should be voting a different way. I'm going to throw the number up here again because we got about 10 minutes left. 203-6799-610. I haven't heard that phone ring. I know one of you liberals want to come on here and chat with me. Police are a problem because Democrats pass racist laws. Well, no, in the eyes of Democrats, the police are the problem. But even if, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, Roger, because it's a good statement, but I think it's grossly misrepresented. Democrats do pass racist laws. They always have. But even so, the police department is not the problem. Because if we were to go with that theory, Roger, you would see stats that show that the police are an issue with shootings and with anything. And they're not. There is not a single stat anywhere that shows that the police are racist. But even that, name me a law that was passed that is systemically racist towards a different race. Because I tell you, even if it was, I don't think the police would be enforcing it. And again, it just brings me back. Even though I do agree with you, the Democrats like to pass things that again, and they came in and talked about it a couple weeks ago, saying that they're like I said, driving without. No, that's not a racist. See, Roger, this is why you got to call in. You can't make statements like that. You can't make statements like that and then turn around and say driving without a license is racist. Headlight out, that's not what's racist about that? Oh, Roger, you're going off the deep end, buddy. I need to throw. Hold on, let me throw you a lifeline to reel you back in over here. What are you doing? Oh, Roger. How I miss our conversations. Politicians are definitely a problem. But again, we can sit there and say that politicians are a problem. We really can't say that because whose fault is that then? If politicians are the problem, whose fault is that? It's yours. It's all of our fault. If politicians are the issue, then we are to blame. They pull over everybody for stupid laws. Again, you're going down a rabbit hole. You're not going to be able to get yourself out of there, buddy. There are no facts to back that statement up there, Roger. None. A lot of people get pulled over for stupid laws. I've been pulled over many a times. Probably most of the time because I was actually at fault. You know, I'll be the first to sit there and say that, I might roll through some stop signs. But, I mean, again, those aren't racist. Driving without a license is not a racist thing. I mean, you might as well just turn around, Roger, and say that because they have no license, they can't go vote. So now you're saying that people are too stupid to go get a driver's license or a photo ID? I don't know, Roger. You like I said, you're starting to sound like a liberal to me. I have a headlight off at 3. Not pulled over. Well, go fix your headlight. Go fix your headlight. Yeah, well, our dispatch has always been an issue with staffing. Listen, it's a tough job to do. I mean, if anyone doesn't know what the dispatch is your 911. Listen, it's a tough job to do. You're expected to work long hours. It's strenuous. I mean, you're hearing people at their worst moments in their life, and you're supposed to sit there and stay calm and try to walk them through it. That's a tough job for anybody. Same thing with a police officer. Same thing with a police officer. It's a tough job, especially in today's society, where we have cultural issues in our society that people are brought up to not respect the police. If you look at any of these incidents, they could have all been quickly resolved and people just did as they were told. If they just did as they were told, just follow the instructions of the police officer, and you are going to be just fine. It doesn't matter what color you are. Just do as you're told. There's times and places to argue, and that is not one of them when you're in the middle of a traffic stop. Not. You have your day in court. That's why it's there. What crime is committed by not having a license? You need to have a license. And that is absolutely true, Paul. Some people shouldn't be even on the road with a license. But having a license just shows that you know the basics of driving on the roadway. That's a good thing. It's a safety thing. That's not racist. I'm still waiting for you to sit there and tell me what's racist about some of these laws. Again, if you're sitting there telling me that having a license is racist, then you're in the same boat of those saying that people are too stupid to go get an ID for voting. But I bet you want an ID for voting, don't you? So you can't have it both ways. You got to pick a side. Pick a side. I don't care what side you pick. Just choose one and back that one up. Because you can't be wishy-washy on it. just wear a mask and do what you're doing. Well, you know me. I don't ever do as I'm told. But it's a dangerous time to be a police officer right now. And my heart goes out to each and every one of them. For the crap they've taken from the federal government, from Congress, people in Congress, trying to demonize them. It's not a crime till you get it. That is true, Jeff. You know, sometimes I use that old motto. My cousin used to say, "No cop, no stop," or "I'll stop twice at the next one." I fall victim to it. I mean, it happens. But again, if I get caught, it's not because of police. did anything wrong. It's because I did something wrong and I got caught for it. Again, do you know what's missing in society the most in our culture now? Personal responsibility. I know it's an old-fashioned phrase. Personal responsibility. Everybody needs to take personal responsibility for the things they do. Their actions have consequences, good or bad. But again, when those consequences have to be, you know, laid out, there's a time and a place to argue them. On the side of a road is not one. Arguing with a police officer is not one. So what is the problem? See, Roger, what is the problem? You have to define the problem to me. Because you're pushing a false narrative, which is why libertarians never win. You might say why Republicans lose, but you fail to show me a single law that is racist, and to sit there and say, I don't recognize a problem, because you've yet to give me one that exists. If you could give me one that exists, and I could agree with you, I'd be more than happy to. Stupid, but you failed to give me one. You can't just sit there and throw out there in a blanket statement, stupid racist laws. That doesn't make any sense. That can mean anything. You have to give me something in particular that the government has passed that is racist towards one group. And to sit there and say a driver's license is not, because a driver's license goes for everybody. And again, if you're sitting there saying that one class of people or one race of people cannot turn around and get a license for whatever reason, that in itself is racist on your end. It just doesn't make any sense. You're saying that one class or one race is too stupid to go get a license or to pass a driving test. So again, we can sit there and go in circles. A law with no victim. Again, that still doesn't make it racist. I don't get where you're coming with the racist part. That would be for everybody. A law with no victim would be a blanket for everybody, not for a particular race. So, you're going to have to somehow clarify in some ways. Maybe write me an email where I could, where you could decipher what you're saying here, because what you're writing here doesn't make any sense. It brings me back to the same point every single time. So, I know that maybe your libertarian way is just to confuse people to the point where they just sit here and say, all right, whatever. But I'm not letting you get away with it. Not letting you get away with that craziness. If you come on this show and you sit there and try to say things, you have to back them up. It's creepy. Listen, you want to bring things up, you got to bring facts. We deal with facts here. And facts could care less about your feelings. That's the great thing about facts. Facts care about nothing. And the facts, every fact that comes out says our police department is awesome. The men and women who put on that uniform and go out there every night to put their lives on the line for each and every one of us, that is to be appreciated, commended, and protected. And everybody should be thanking them every time you see them. They pass them to trap black people like they do with gun laws. Really? Really? Okay, again. So are you saying that having a driver's license, so they passed the need to have a driver's license so that they could trap black people for not having one? So again, you're back to the point that black people are too stupid or not or ignorant to be able to figure out how to go get a driver's license? I just want to make sure I understand where you're coming from. I want to know what your point of view is on it. Because you're telling me, now you're telling me that what law you're saying is wrong. Even gun laws. Are you trying to say that they can't get a pistol permit the proper way? Is that what you're saying? I'm still waiting on. I'm still waiting on a law that is specifically targeted at black people or minorities. And if you're saying gun laws apply to everybody. So I don't know why. I don't know why. Roger, I really have no idea where you're coming from. Because you're like, I think what you're doing is you're taking like everything you have in your little bag of tricks and you're just throwing them against the wall, hoping that one of them sticks. And unfortunately, there's a very good wax job on that wall, and they're just sliding right on off because none of what you're saying makes any sense. How? How? How do they face greater obstacles to getting a gun permit? How? I'll wait. Do 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 boop 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 boom boom. Oh, that's what I thought. They face greater obstacles of getting a gun permit. Huh. I didn't know. I thought everybody followed the same process. I know I followed the same process as everybody else did. Hmm. Their permits are. First of all, if you're in the state of Connecticut, everybody's permits get held up and denied for any little thing. And do me a favor, Roger. Since you've kind of targeted down to one little specific thing, throw me a piece of throw me a piece of evidence to back that up, please. Um, but I mean, we could go on here all day. But if you feel that certain individuals are passing racist laws, then I think you should be the first one out there screaming at the rooftops that they need to be voted out. Until then, when you see a police officer, thank him. Thank him or her for putting her life out on the line every single day, because it's needed, especially with morale being as low as it is, because we have weak-minded politicians who think they know best on how to run a police department. They can't even run the city in a halfway decent way. But so Thursday, we're gonna have to pick up on this union thing, but we're also gonna do an update on the state because, like I said, there are a lot of things coming out of the state that definitely need to be talked about, and hopefully we'll have a state rep on Sunday to kind of walk us through what's really going on up there. Because if you think we had problems with the last election, you have seen nothing yet. You don't even need an ID to go get an absentee ballot. No signature verification, no nothing. It's free reign now. So, I mean, that's something we're definitely going to need to talk about on Sunday. But as always, until then, I can't thank you guys enough for showing up to listen. Share the show. Make sure you like it. Make sure if you're on the YouTube channel, make sure you like it and subscribe. It helps the channel out. But again, until we meet again, guys, Roger, especially, you need do some soul searching there, buddy. I need some more facts from you. I expect to see you on this show soon, so we could have a nice discussion about your libertarian views, and hopefully we'll get a liberal on here also. I like to get one of each on here. But until then, like I say every week, I love you, love each other. Go in peace, love, and happiness. And until we meet again, God bless you. And God bless this amazing country of ours. And God bless every single police officer that's out there doing a thankless job for people that unfortunately have become less thankful for it. We love you, police officers. Don't ever forget that. We are here. We are here to protect you, and we will do just that. So again, thank you until we meet again on Sunday. Love yous. Good night, and God bless.